Hi all, thanks for inviting me to be part of today's presentation. And today I'm going to talk about creative art practice in response to climate change and explain how art transforms and forms new approaches to speculative, ecological, and sustainable futures. So, climate change is impacting all aspects of contemporary life. So many artists engage in art practice response to climate change. For example, in China is a developing country and has released a lot of greenhouse gases into the air on the road of development, and is affected by a series of ecological and environmental problems caused by climate change. Chinese artist Taiwa Cheng, he has experienced this process since he was born. So based on his personal experience and the climate crisis, in 2006, he created his artwork, Clear Sky, Black Cloud, in the roof garden of the Metropolitan Museum. And he turned the visible material into the carrier and medium of ideas, attached his ecological concepts to the material attributes of gunpowder, and made people aware of the danger and the vitality of climate change in the face of material forms. In America, extreme weather caused by climate change has led to many disasters, such as flood. Therefore, American artist Eva Mosher, she took 6 months to create this public artwork, High Water Line, in 2007. During the whole art-making process, she held a one-on-one dialogue with people to discuss climate change and its impact on their life and the New York City. In 2012, after Hurricane Sandy flooded many of her market areas, the prediction of high water line was validated. So concisely, Mosher's work is based on hard research. She linked many problems through communication with others, motor learning, and in-depth learning to the decline of environmental stability. And then she created a future space through art that allows people to feel the impact of climate change, to reach a consensus on the action and achieve a possible bright future. Because of the climate change, glaciers are melting. That means the artist Oliver Eliasson has been committed to studying climate change through art and electronic media and exploring speculative future. So in 2018, Eliasson cooperated with geologists to create Ice Watch, which was placed in the public square in front of the Tate Museum. Through this work, Eliasson made the invisible effects of climate change become visible. At the same time, allowing the audience to watch the melting process of glaciers through human behavior to think about climate change. This thinking process sometimes makes people recognize their existence and participation in the specific situation. How people think about the relationship between nature and mankind, physical phenomena, and climate change, and put forward the problem of future responsibility. So from this artwork, we can see these artists, they regard art as a powerful weapon to respond to climate change. Although art cannot help people directly solve climate problems, it can help people face up to problems, question the current situation, and explore a speculative future. What is climate change? According to the report by IPCC, human activities such as burning fossil fuels and land use cause a large number of organic carbon into the air in the form of CO2, leading to atmospheric greenhouse effect, changing the balance of material and energy between land and the atmosphere. This causes global temperature to rise, resulting in long-term changes to the climate. The environmental effects of climate are worldwide. It not only impacts on non-humans, but also impacts on humans. For example, in 2019, due to the human activities, the Amazon rainforest suffered a 3-week fire, which killed many species and trees. At the same time, a large amount of black smoke spread from the Amazon to the nearby parts of Mato Grosso, São Paulo, and Pará. Especially the smoke fog coverage is more than 3,000 kilometers in São Paulo, which turned the entire city into a night and caused a large blackout. The fire has led to a significant surge in the global greenhouse gases, which not only pose a danger to human health, but also accelerates global warming, and a series of associated consequences. So in this event, human disturbance has not only seriously damaged the environment and led to climate change, but also brought negative consequences to human life. To fight against the climate change, many countries and communities have launched the ecological restoration project. For example, this is the Eden project located in the Convey, UK. It restored an abandoned land to be a famous tourist attraction, and now it is planning a new project with the purpose of revising the ecological decline and bringing wildflowers back into the British life culture. So in this project, human disturbance plays a positive impact on the environment, forming a system of life and ecology consisting of forest species and other elements. So overall, everything is interconnected. The negative human disturbance will have a serious impact on human life security and the ecosystem. The positive human disturbance can protect human beings, adopt and regulate the climate to achieve long-term future development. So in my project, my research interest and focus mainly concentrate on human disturbance behavior and climate change. Therefore, I prefer to find a specific ecological case, which is the future that has become a reality through people's positive disturbance. And then I will take visual research and arts-based practice and research to respond to the climate change. The purpose is to explore how visual art can impact issue-based concepts and ideologies through the presentation, representation, and interpretation as a framework for coping with climate change and reimagining society to sustainable futures. So in 2020, I went back to China and I go to the Kubuqi Desert in the Inner Mongolia to do participatory observational research. As you can see from this picture, it is the image before the local government launched the restoration project. Due to the disturbance of the early human activities, the Kubuqi Desert has degenerated from a grassland into the seventh largest desert in China. Although forest vegetation can reproduce without human disturbance, the terrible environment of the Kubuqi Desert has far exceeded the natural regulation ability. Therefore, the Kubuqi Desert cannot realize ecological restoration through its natural system. So on the premise of respecting the local desert ecosystem, local companies and the Chinese government use afforestation as the main method to repel ecological management of the Kubuqi Desert. As you can see from this picture, this is the image after over 30 years of efforts. They have successfully afforested 1/3 of the Kubuqi Desert, promoting the forest vegetation and other species to regain living space. In return, the Kubuqi Desert ecological system provides the local people with valuable forest resources, economic resources, and food resources, developing a great and rich landscape. So currently in the Kubuqi Desert, the forest, humans, and other species, they live together, redesigning and shaping the current sustainable ecological system of the Kubuqi Desert. This forms a tripartite win-win situation. So this project shows that people's positive action may change everything and that people have the opportunity to create a better future. Its concept is very suitable for my project direction. Therefore, I chose the Kubuqi Desert as the specific research site for this project. In the participatory observation research I conducted in the Kubuqi Desert, I just have a dialogue with the local people, such as this man from this picture on the left hand. He named Zhang Shiwang. He is the representative of the sand control staff in the Kubuqi Desert. According to him, 32 years ago, the Kubuqi Desert was a dead sea without road, water, electricity, transportation, as well as medical facilities. There were 50 sandstorms in the Kubuqi Desert each year, and seriously affecting the air quality of surrounding cities such as Beijing and Tianjin. Because of the bad desert environment, local people's houses always were destroyed by wind and sand, therefore increasing economical pressure on the residents. According to the research from Chinese government, the income of the residents in the Kubuqi Desert at that time was less than £50 per year. This makes me feel very sad and disappointed because the annual income of £50 only can pay for a few meals in the restaurant for Chinese people at that time. So therefore, it is an urgent task to restore the ecological system of the Kubuqi Desert. So in 2002, Zhang and his villager were invited by the local company to plant trees in the Kubuqi Desert for £2 per day. Because they lacked experience, many trees did not survive, which led them to work hard without pay or reward. However, with the rich experience of planting trees, the survival rate of the trees is getting higher and higher. Zhang Shiwang's salary has gradually increased from £2 per day to £11 per day. Through the efforts of Zhang Shiwang and other sand control people, the Kubuqi Desert has been successfully controlled for more than 6,000 square kilometers. From 2000 to 2016, the Kubuqi Desert system has changed a lot. For example, the forest coverage increased from 0.8% to 15.7%, and the vegetation coverage increased from 16.2% to 53%. Sandstorms decreased from 50 times per year to 1 time per year. The species of the animals and the plants increased from less than 10 to 530, as well as for the residents. Over 100,000 people have been lifted out of poverty. Just take Zhang Shiwang as an example. Before he planted a tree to do the join the ecological restoration project, he only can earn money £2,200 per year. But after he joined this ecological restoration project for many years, he can earn the money over £11,000 per year. That changed a lot. So totally because of the restoration project in the Kubuqi Desert, the local people's life as well as the ecosystem has changed a lot. And then the Kubuqi Desert has become a place where allow humans, forests, and other species living together. After talking with Zhang Shiwang, I conducted a week observation tour in the Kubuqi Desert. And during this period, I and other volunteers planted trees in the desert by using traditional method of digging and watering, as you can see from this picture. At the beginning of the desert ecological restoration, this kind of tree planting method was very difficult for the sand control people because at that time, there were deserts everywhere and the climate was very bad. However, at present, due to the maturity of science and technology, the local companies have developed many convenient methods to plant trees, such as using some advanced technology to plant a tree. Therefore, this traditional tree planting method has evolved into an entertainment experience. For me, I really like this activity because it can offset my carbon emission. Because I plant a tree, the tree is the most economical way to help people to fix the carbon emission. So for me, it indeed offset my carbon emission. And also, the tree I plant in the desert will exist from now to the future. Its whole life will not fix the carbon, but also will release a certain amount of oxygen to participate in global climate regulation. If most people participate in these similar positive actions, I believe that it will bring great change and even affect the future. Through this ecological experience, I benefited a lot. And also, I'm a person who is very sensitive to the temperature. If it's too hot, my emotion will be irritable. If it is too cold, my emotion will be very upset. But when I was in the Kubuqi Desert, I felt so comfortable. As you can see for those pictures, I went to a lot of places in the Kubuqi Desert, and I joined some activities. During this period, the climate made me feel very comfort instead of irritable or upset or the other bad emotions. just because of the climate warming and climate change, the temperature of some areas in the world has changed. For example, as you can see from this picture, it is the Qinzhang Gaoyuan in China from 1961 to 2010. Its annual average temperature increased by 0.35 degrees centigrade every 10 years. But compared with the Kubuqi Desert, the Kubuqi Desert temperature data of the Kubuqi Desert from 1959 to 2020, the temperature basically did not change. That's very interesting. This proved that the Chinese government and local enterprises carry out ecological restoration on the premise of respecting and protecting the desert ecosystem. Because the desert is also another system, there are some species living here. If they do not respect and protect the desert system, they may destroy another ecosystem. So therefore, after I conducted research in the Kubuqi Desert, I would like to use the temperature data from the Kubuqi Desert as the atom material to show people how people's action, positive disturbance plays a greater important role in ecological restoration and climate change. But data cannot give people an intuitive feeling. So to better explain climate change through art and data, I conducted visual research, including interdisciplinary research and aesthetic research, and the representative work of these artists involved in using data to explain climate change. The purpose is to better integrate multidisciplinary issues to further explore and answer the research questions of my project, thereby seeking an effective way to strengthen the communication between humans and the natural ecological system and improve people's understanding of the climate change and explore speculative futures. Here, I will quickly show some examples of my visual research. So to narrow the gap between climate science and art, some artists have developed interdisciplinary approaches to deepen an understanding of the climate change. As you can see here, this artwork created by Andrew Pauli in 2003. It is a series of audiovisual works providing a series of ultrasonic images to explain and predict climate change, mainly focusing on downtown and Central Park in New York. At the same time, it is also displayed as a multi-channel headset and speaker installation. In this work, Pauli used the sound as a narrative to interpret climate change in a new way of thinking. By combining the art and science and the psychology, she created a space to guide the audience to actively explore the relationship between man and climate change. By using metaphor, she transformed the temperature data into sound to convey the emotional content associated with the data and help people imagine climate change. And this artwork created by American artist Martin Wattenberg. He is a data artist. He cooperated with Science Federal Vegas to design this artwork wind map, visualizing the airflow data in cold winter in the US and showing the impact of climate change on daily weather in America. Through this interdisciplinary cooperation, Martin combines art and computer science, which not only helps the public communicate effectively with climate change, but also provide a good climate model for people in other fields. Moreover, Martin created an easy-to-understand metaphor for wind data and a new perceptual language for emotional communication. In response to climate change, some digital artists committed to explain the relationship between human activities and the ecological environment through art responding to climate change. In 2005, digital media artist Aaron Cobley designed the digital art flight patterns. By using data visualization and processing software, Cobley converts the data from Federal Aviation Administration into changing colors and patterns, showing the 24-hour aircraft traffic mode and density in North America. Through the combination of art and technology, Coupling creates a dynamic visual experience to help people better understand the power of shaping the future of mankind by combining art with human behavior patterns. And he brings an immersive experience to the audience and help people understand the relationship between their daily life and climate change. Through the combination of art and other disciplines, it constructs a space to help people communicate effectively with climate change. In November 2018, due to the extreme weather in California, there was no outburst precipitation for over 200 days, which triggered an urban firestorm. The repeatedly spreading fire killed at least 85 people and almost destroyed the towns of Paradise and Concord in California. Based on this, Andrew Seeger created a wildfire progress series to record this event and explore the connection and the difference between natural disasters and man-made events. In this work, Seeger used the interdisciplinary approach to combine science research, data visualization, landscape, and materiality, took scientific data as conceptual resources, and created a visualized narrative method so that people can see the relationship between humans and climate change closely. Meanwhile, she linked the climate change with people's history and emotions, expanding the value definition of data, and give the audience a new perspective to understand climate change. As Tim Martin said, everything is interconnected. Climate change is related not only to the present, but also to the future and past. To fight against climate change, some digital artists use art practice to explore solutions. Pitchwell is very interested in the ice core because she believes that the ice core as an ancient thermometer provides an explanation of ancient atmosphere. Through the ice core to detect the past climate and environmental changes, it is helpful to predict the future climate and environmental changes. Therefore, in 2018, she worked with scientists from the National Science Foundation in America to design 8080 cores. It is a 4-hour and 29 minutes video device composed of ice core photos taken at the National Ice Core Laboratory. This work emphasized the important role of ice core science in human exploration and understanding of the past and future climate of the Earth, and provides a solution to actively deal with climate change. According to the Laura Frakes study, 25% of global emissions come from food, more than transportation 19%, or housing 17%. Therefore, she believes that a little change in people's thoughts can promote public support for the new policy, which is carbon emission reduction. In 2020, Fred cooperated with Google Arts and Culture to create this interactive work, What We Eat, to test the impact of various food on the environment. In this artwork, through artistic installation and data, Fred tells people a story about their emotional response, a real, concrete, and very personal story. This not only effectively interprets the relationship between climate change and the carbon emissions, but also connects personal daily life with climate from the emotional level. Therefore, it can speculate on the future of humans and climate change. So in general, in my visual research, I divided these artists in 3 parts. To explain climate phenomena, some artists, such as Polly, transform data into visual language related to people's daily life, explaining and interpreting climate change. With the help of art, they established an environmental narrative and created a new way of emotional communication to help people communicate effectively with climate change. In response to the climate crisis, some artists, such as Coblin and Seeger, encourage people to think about their relationship with climate change. Through creative art practice, they explained the causes of climate change and influenced people's mind and transformed society through cultural transformation. To raise the issues of future responsibility, some artists, such as Peter Well, regard art as a creative tool with the function of education, communication, dissemination, and transformation, focusing the creative expression on a positive and creative future. So totally, by linking art with other disciplines, artists can explore materiality and deepen people's understanding of the climate change. Through art to enhance people's perception and consciousness, artists can change people's attitude toward the environment and the natural ecology and shape sustainable values. Through the art to arouse people's thinking process, artists can help people look back on the past, face the present, look forward to the future, redesign the current life, and realize the future. Through art to connect people's daily life with climate change, artists can encourage people to take action to explore a beautiful and a sustainable future. So based on my visual research as well as the ecological experience in the Kubuqi Desert, I decided to combine art and other subjects to visualize temperature data of the Kubuqi Desert from 1959 to 2020, telling a story about realizing a speculative future through people's positive actions. Through the algorithm coding, I transferred temperature data into color. According to research by Escobar in the journal called The Temperature of Emotions in 2020, he just proved that people's emotion and temperature are closely related. And also, as the most intuitive feeling, color has a similar effects to the temperature. This has been proved in the article called Effects of Color on Emotions, published by the Murray Harbin in 1994, and another journal article called Investigation of Humans' Emotional Response on Colors by Gao Xiaoping in 2006. Consistently, I visualized the temperature data by coloring, aiming to enhance people's emotions and feelings about climate change. And due to my ecological experience in the Kubuqi Desert, I believe that it is necessary to find a space where all species can live together, which will be conducive to our future and to cope with climate change at present. Therefore, through the Unreal Engine, I created these 744 rooms and used the color of lighting to create an atmosphere and remind people of their living space. From my perspective, we were living in a space called Earth. We were living in a space called home. After a busy day outside, we will eventually return to our own space and relax and sleep here. It will make us feel comfort and safe. But in fact, the living space is composed of many things, such as organic life and inorganic environment, to run the function of this space. Therefore, I created this work with nights and empty rooms, hoping to connect with people's daily life to convey the concept of life community. Also, because the color of the light is translated by the temperature data of the Kubuqi Desert, therefore, through this artwork, people can intuitively see the temperature change in the Kubuqi Desert from 1959 to 2020, and people will find there is not too much difference in the temperature of the Kubuqi Desert in the past 62 years, mainly because of the ecological restoration project of the Kubuqi Desert is on the premise of respecting and protecting the desert ecosystem. So it doesn't cause damage to the desert system. And also, this desert ecological restoration project creates a sustainable ecological and economic system in which people live in harmony with nature. Totally, in this work, I take a specific successful ecological restoration case as a research object, explore the impact of the current serious climate problems and their serious consequences on human future, and put forward the possible use, interactions, and behaviors through digital art. The purpose is to find and create a discussion space, develop alternative social imagination, encourage people to think and find sustainable speculative future, which is conducive to the existence of all people. This artwork received the invitation from some galleries online and offline, such as some online magazine or some online exhibitions. They do believe This art practice responds to climate change and has the potential in planning the future because it shows people a sustainable and speculative future that could be achieved through people's positive intervention. Thereby, they invite me to participate in their exhibition. And overall, my research has brought together critical theory and contextual thinking within a visual framework. This method not only combines us with interdisciplinary thinking to expand multidisciplinary questions, but further explores how visual and creative narratives and metaphors engender creative transformation in the space of climate change. The power of climate education is brought into play through art practice. Creative intention combined with specific climate issues integrates personal and collective emotion, transforming individuals and the audience, shaping sustainable thinking with global societies. So to sum up, as a new method of ideology, metaphor, and narrative visual story, art can deepen the understanding of climate change and form a new insight and a positive imagination for speculation in the future from interdisciplinary perspective of methodology. Through art, artists can create an imaginative space, rethink and shape the daily life, encourage people to reflect on their lives and behaviors, question their relationship with Earth and climate, and promote sustainable values. Integrating global thinking into art can help people to review the past, face the present, and look forward to the future in the process of reimagining the world so as to achieve a sustainable and speculative future. Yeah, thanks for viewing. Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you. That was really great, fascinating. Do you know about the temperature blankets? Have you come across temperature blankets before?
Sorry.
Can you hear me okay?
Sorry, hold on, just some noises. I need to. Yeah.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Have you come across temperature blankets before? Knitted blankets that are different colour stitches every day depending on the temperature.
Pardon? Sorry. I need to.
Temperature blankets, knitted blankets that like document the temperature every day of the year with a
Oh yeah, I just collect. Actually, I didn't. Actually, the data, the temperature data, I just collected from the China government. They just record the data from the 1959, but because of the technology, you know, just because China just is a new country, it established at 1949, so they don't have advanced technology to record the temperature data. So I only got the temperature data year to year. But actually, I prefer to get the data month to month because that will make that will highlight the temperature data to show people the changes in the Kubuqi Desert.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Hi, Wenwen. Thanks for the presentation. It's very thorough and good to see kind of that level of research going off and the very sort of specific case study that you've kind of chosen to build a practice around or an artwork around is a really nice starting point, I think. And are you're doing this project for an MA at MEMA, is that right?
I'm doing this project for my PhD study.
So I was just wondering, within the context of a PhD and kind of looking at contemporary art practices that might be dealing with climate change and artists' roles in climate change, you've articulated very well the kind of the approach of artists being there to either visualize data or to kind of raise awareness or kind of understanding around specific specific issues. So artists as kind of people that can represent problems and kind of raise awareness and hopefully create social action through representational practice. But I just wondered what you thought about this kind of, I suppose, newer wave of artists that are working in a much more direct kind of activist type of way. So, you know, you've got cooking sections that have just been nominated for the Turner Prize, whose artwork is a kind of very, everyday sort of activity to reduce climate change themselves by taking off farmed salmon from the menu at Tate Modern, or maybe within that sort of context of things that are happening from MIMA, you know, the arte utile, the kind of useful art approach. Just whether those artists are sort of interesting to you within this kind of research that you're doing through the PhD, the artists that are working in a much more direct activist sort of way outside of galleries or even outside of the art system.
Yeah, sorry, you took a long. So can you explain the director questions? So
just for instance, like cooking sections who were just nominated for the Turner Prize.
The prize nominated the prize. No, this is no one funded my project, you know.
Now I'm talking about the artist collective called Cooking Sections.
Cooking Sections.
Who've just been nominated for the Turner Prize. It's all right. I'll send some links through, but yeah, I just thought there's maybe an interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested. You talk about that project.
Artists that are working outside of just representation and are making work that's kind of more like a sort of direct intervention. And you mentioned, you know, when you planted a tree.
Oh yeah.
In the desert, that type of work. You know, even going back to like Joseph Beuys.
Oh yeah, 700 ox. I know that project.
So that sort of legacy. Of
yeah. I also put that project in my PhD dissertation and just talk about that. I just really like his concept, the social sculptor. He just believed that everyone can be artist and everyone can produce the artwork in their daily life, and everyone have the ability to change the world. Yeah. Thanks for your suggestion and advice.
Hi, Wenwen. That was a wonderful presentation. And you know, the photograph that you showed over the years from 1985 to 2016 of that desert and how it became all green. I mean, that was really so impressive with sort of water and the climate change and how that's been, sort of the counter effect of global warming and by kind of human efforts. I think that was very impressive. And your artwork of temperature, everyday temperature, that was also, very nice. I thought that was very impressive as well. The colorful orange, green, and that was really very nice. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This kind of art, this kind of visual art that uses digital means to present data and color and shape is very impersonal. There's no hand of the artist in it, is there? It's,
that's the limitation, yeah.
So how do you I'm thinking about how you would how you define this kind of art in terms of how is it different from a scientist presenting data in a visual form. Does it matter? I suppose it doesn't matter really what it's called, but you're describing this as art. but yet a scientist may present the same data in a visual form, but he wouldn't call that art, would he? She.
Yeah, actually, your opinion, I think, is very important. For my project, I conduct 3 steps to do my art practice. And for the Snyder I've shown here now, that's the second art practice of my research. For the first art practice, I just try different art forms, such as installation art, photograph art, and liquid art, and other forms, so as to find the digital art. And because I'm very interested in the data, and also based on the first art practice, I decided to use the digital art to present my artwork. So I just combine digital art and data together, and to find some artists in this area, and to show how they create data through science, combine the science and technology and art together. So that's why I created the data with the, created this artwork with data and digital art.
Mm.
Hi, Wenwen. I just want to say that was really, really interesting. Again, like really thorough. It really resonated with a couple of projects that I've heard about recently. So I might just like send you a couple of links in the chat. So especially at the start when you mentioned kind of your background and what you're doing a PhD in games design as well.
Oh yeah.
There's some research being done by Glasgow University and an arts collective in Edinburgh on the impact of climate change and doing something about it through games design and through also acting. And they're doing this year something to do with like an on the day games thing, which is going to be virtual and in person, where they're going to have live actors as well throughout the city of Glasgow. So I'll send you some information on that.
Oh yeah, that's very helpful. Actually my main area is the game. I specialized in the game area for 7 years, but I just use a little game scale for this project. But the topic you mentioned, I'm very interested in. Yes, please, definitely send the link to me. Thank you.
No problem. And there was another arts installation that I thought of. Worked a couple of years ago for an arts collective in Barcelona, and they did an installation called Retour aux Sources. They're French collective, and about like taking data. I can't remember exactly which data it was, and then like having live data fed into the installation with regards to climate change. I can't remember. It was very specific data, so I can't remember, but I'll send you a link as well. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I attended an online conference a few months ago, and there was a speaker presenting his work on there who, and I can't remember his name, but I could look it up. He had devised a program which was similar to Minecraft, and it was presenting gave different scenarios of changes in, so it was to do with climate change and change in biodiversity and things. And it was a way of engaging mostly children, I think, but in learning about what would happen if, and they could select different scenarios, and that was based on games, computer games. Yeah.
Yeah, can you send the link to me?
Yeah.
I'm very interested in the game area.
Right.
Yeah, I got the link from Andy, and thanks. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so what I do basically, I just so it's just basically kind of got rubbish, wrappers, sweet wrappers and things, which are kind of left to be thrown away. So I just kind of take shots of that and then paint them. So these are oil on canvas board, and these are 10 by 12 inches. So I'll just show you different examples. Yeah, so that's well, they're self-explanatory kind of thing. But I like the way kind of, you know, when you crush a can, I like the shapes and the light that it reflects and things, and also the wrappers. I like it when they kind of you know, when you open them and crush them. So just a minute. That's the other one. I like the shadows as well that they create. So this was when I was with a friend. He's a smoker. So again, these they're not kind of positioned in any particular way. So with this one, I was just sat with a friend who smokes, and it was just laid on the table in front, and I thought that was quite good. So I just take a shot of it and then I kind of recreate it paint it in the studio. And the little things usually on the side, like the match with the shadow, is the way the juxtaposition. I kind of like them. So even with the Smarties and things. Yeah. I like that one. My nephew, when I was sat with my nephew, he put these two together, again, completely, you know, unintentionally. So it was a half banana next to a Dr. Pepper crushed can. So I like the disparity of those two. And that's another one. Again, there's no kind of hidden meanings or anything. They're just as they are. But I think I was reflecting on why I do this, and it was I think the reason why I do it is the things that I paint are usually kind of overlooked. They're usually inanimate objects that we don't usually take any notice of, that we just throw away. But I think there's some kind of beauty in them as well, in inanimate objects. That was quite difficult. The inside of the Whisper wrapper, which was silver, which was a bit of a nightmare to get that, but I don't think I got it. So yeah, silver foil wrappers I still haven't. Anyway, that was a good one. The Rubicon Still Mango. Yeah, that was another one that I did. Yeah, that was when I was just like watching Netflix, and I had a bag of What's-Its, and I put the Sky remote, and the crisp came out. Sorry, I'm not professional at these presentations. Yeah, so again, these are another. So when I came home, again, these are titled like Sunday Afternoon. That's the title of that. So I brought a scratch card. I took the change out of my pocket, took my wristwatch out, and then yeah, that was it. So that's when I was on a tube, a train. So again, train journey. Yeah, so I had a packet of cocoa malls and a custard. That's it. There you go. Sorry, it's not.
Oh, no need to apologise.
Yeah,
It's great.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go.
They remind me of like documents of time. The first thing that came to mind was the kind of, we were talking about them being like, this was the train journey, or when you were sat with your friend. They're almost like this sort of snapshot, like not just literally in terms of like a visual photograph. I'm wondering if they hold some sort of memento quality from that experience for you.
Yeah, when I look at each one, it puts me back into to where I was. So yeah, it is kind of documented. When I look back, I think about all the junk that I've eaten as well. To be honest, there's a lot of. I've got a bit of a sweet tooth, yeah. But yeah.
Can I ask how often you paint? You make these paintings? Like what sort of frequency? Is there, you know, like are they weekly, monthly? What sort of?
Yeah, so these take me about a month. So I paint every day, about an hour and a half a day. Yeah.
So they're almost a document of like, not exactly precisely month by month, but you could put them in like a calendar format.
Yeah, there's a timeline. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? Anybody else? I mean.
Yeah, I've got. Oh, sorry. You go ahead, Helen.
No, I was looking on your Instagram account, and I noticed you've done some landscapes as well.
Yeah. So I'm trying everything. Yeah.
Which do you enjoy doing the most?
Well, I find like sometimes I just want to go for it, so I just do a lot of. Sometimes I do abstract, but the thing is with these paintings, the hand becomes kind of tight, and you know it's kind of meticulous. So sometimes you want to loosen that up. So I do that first, like a still life, and then I just go. You know, I do an abstract. So I kind of alternate between each. Yeah.
And Nadeem, sorry, can you just say a bit more about how you got into it? Because it's like, I think it's an interest. So, and the process, am I right, is you take photographs of the scene, so you sort of see the scene as it occurs, you take a photograph of it, and then you sort of make the decision to paint that. And how did you get into when did you make the decision to start? Did you have a collection of photographs, or do you know that you were going to paint them, or how did that work?
Well, no, because usually I just go for walks. And when I'm walking, these so like say a can of Rubicon mango, which is pale blue, it just shoots out kind of on a like a grey concrete floor. So that catches my attention. So that's how I got into it, and I thought there's something there, you know. So when I'm walking and I'm looking down, like a red kind of Kit Kat wrapper just strikes me like, whoa. So that there's bursts of color on these kind of like gray kind of concrete things. So that I think that's where it came about, to be honest.
So when you saw that kind of the wrapper, you thought, oh, I'd like to paint it, or you thought you'd like to photograph it, and then you decided to paint the photograph?
No, so so like when I was with my nephew, he crushed a Costa cup, and I just liked the way, you know, the grooves and everything, and the way it was crushed, and I thought that would be interesting to paint. So yeah, I just tried it, and then it just went off from there. And I like it because it's things that we don't usually take no notice of. We don't give a second look at. Yeah.
And have you thought about how they just exist on Instagram at the moment, or have you sort of thought about sharing them in other ways, having a little exhibition of them? Or
so so I was in London for about 5 years. So they were shown in Spitalfields market. Well, there's Spitalfields Gallery near the market, and then there was I exhibited in Chelsea Art Gallery as well. And then there was a Willesden Gallery in North. Yeah, so when I was in London, I exhibited. But I haven't exhibited in the North. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just got a couple of questions. So, first of all, I really like specifically the like metallic things that you do, about like the inside of the wrappers. There's so much stuff that comes off the page, if I can say, like the remote control and stuff as well. It's really powerful. So I guess I was just wondering, is your kind of like ideal way of showcasing these through the kind of typical kind of like art exhibition space, or would it be another space? What would be your ideal way of showcasing this kind of work that you're doing?
Well, ideally, yeah, I'd like to, because I think when you look at them on the screen, it's different when you actually see them. Because when you see them, there's something about it's like, you know, all the brush marks and everything. So I'd like to exhibit them, you know, and see them visually. And there's a certain distance with them as well. So if you get that, then they look pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I'm also interested in your hashtags as well that you're using. So there were some that weren't quite obvious as to where they came in, maybe names of places, and I'm just curious as to why you're using some of those. I guess I don't have an example. Like there was some maybe there was some kind of Scottish ones with the iron brew.
Yeah.
Some visual hashtags you used, and I was just curious.
No, well, with the Instagram, they when I put the hashtag on, it just records it. So every time I put it on, it's the one from the previous one. So I just click on all of them. Yeah. No, there's no kind of technique behind it or anything. Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, I was just wondering how certain things were like associated with artwork. Cool.
Yeah,
it's very interesting, Nadeem. I was just wondering, you know, when you, I mean, have you thought of, say, maybe making macro paintings of some of the things which are sort of everyday objects, and instead of painting the whole thing, you just magnify a certain tiny bit, and that can look like, you know, kind of like an abstract kind of painting.
All right.
Because that's something I have seen a lot of fabric artists do that. You know, they take photographs of everyday objects and then they magnify a certain bit, and that looks entirely different to what was the original kind of thing. And so they kind of experiment with that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I've never thought. That's quite interesting. Yeah.
Mm.
No, I've never thought about that. Yeah. Yeah, that's something I could look into.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Cool.
So you're in Lancashire. Whereabouts in Lancashire?
Blackburn.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Next to Preston. Yeah.
Yeah, Blackburn. Oh, I know Blackburn very well. I used to work in Blackburn Hospital. So.
Oh, okay.
There's a real like pop art reference as well, isn't there? Is that something that you're aware of? The kind of
yeah,
you know, like Warhol, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's like the contemporary version of that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I suppose it is. Yeah.
And do you know Robert Rauschenberg as well?
No, sorry. Who was that? Robert
Rauschenberg. So okay. He used a lot of rubbish in his collages. That kind of, there's lots of crumpled bits of metal. I thought that might be a nice reference, like with the kind of the text, you know, when you crumple a can and you get like there's bits of text, it's like sort of disjointed. Yeah. He's worked with that idea as well.
Okay.
And to look up.
All right, I'll check him out, definitely. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. I like the way when you, as you were saying, when you look at your paintings from a distance, they look very realistic. And then when you get closer to them, they're quite textured, aren't they? Even though most of them, the real items have got smooth surfaces. There's lots of chunky paint there, which is nice to look at and explore.
Yeah, I like putting it on thick. I think there's a word for that. I can't remember what it. There's a word for that. Yeah, so I put it on thick. So sometimes I use like a thinner, but I like to paste it on, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you working on at the moment? Have you got any new directions, or have you got any ideas?
I'm working on onion rings crispy at the moment.
Within the packet, was the packet there, or is it just the onion rings themselves?
No, it's the empty packet, but there was a couple of onion ring crisps there as well, and then there was a scratch card and some change. But I mean, ideally, I'd like to paint where the objects are, but I can't do that because people would think I've lost it. But yeah, and like in my brother's house, you know, there was something there. So I'd like to literally take my palette and my paints and everything, but it's just not. It doesn't work. So I just take a photograph of it. Yeah,
it's quite a fleeting moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's kind of like you need to capture it in that moment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I also think, Nadeem, you know, that's, I suppose, what I was finding interesting earlier on. If it is that sort of moment where it's like the scene in American Beauty where the bag's flying around, and it's like, oh, that realization, and kind of trying to capture that and then translate it into another form, and then into another form, where I suppose through painting, the nice thing is that you're imbuing it with some time and putting some labor into it to show that, you know, you care about that thing. But I think maybe that idea of being there and sort of painting it as a performance could be sort of quite interesting for people that are walking past. I don't know if you know the art organisation In Situ that are in Briarfield, so not very far from you, you know, close to Nelson. So when they're kind of their mission is to embed art into everyday life. And they're kind of as three artists that were sort of based in Briarfield and making work about the place and making work with the people of that place, really trying to sort of acknowledge and celebrate the kind of overlooked qualities of Briarfield as a town and the people that are from there. But Kerry Morrison, who's like an environmental artist, one of her first projects, the first things that she did there was just sit in front of I think it was the DIY store or something, and started painting it. And was kind of like in the middle of the street, just kind of doing portraits of you know, the everyday scenes that were there. And that sparked some really interesting conversations with people walking past, because some people actually were quite angry about it. They were like, oh, I think the shop owner came out and said, oh, you're not allowed to do that, you know, like it was some sort of like CCTV or surveillance issue. And she was kind of like, oh, you know, I'm an artist, I'm here, I'm just kind of wanting to sort of document and paint what's going off. But that was kind of like her way of starting to engage in that place and really look at what the kind of everyday fabric of Briarfield was like. And they've kind of gone in some interesting directions. But I'll put a link to what they're doing at the moment, because I think another artist, William Titley, who was working with them, similar sort of practice, just really looking at, you know, overlooked bits of land and overlooked kind of nooks and crannies of that place, and thinking, oh, well, what could I do to help draw attention to that thing that I think is quite interesting, or that bit of history that might have been lost. So they're a really interesting group.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, I'll check them out.
Wow, I just really like your painting. And your painting just reminded me of another artist. His name is John Sabra. He is a professor and artist in Ohio University in the US. And he just converted the river pollutants into the painting material, and used that painting material to draw a painting. So it just, in a sense, he just used the artistic way to repel the river.
What was the surname again? John
Sabra. I can send the link to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
There's another artist I've just thought of. Do you know Rue Waterhouse?
No.
Based in Hebden Bridge. So she paints a lot of penguin books, but a lot of kind of like sort of everyday domestic settings as well. She might be a good artist to look up as well.
Yeah.
It's Rue ROO Waterhouse.
Okay.
She's on Instagram, I think, as well.
Right, I'll check that out, definitely. Brilliant.
Brilliant. Anyone got any other comments or questions? Well, I'd just like to thank you both so much for presenting and sharing. It's been really, really great. I hope you've got a lot out of it as well. And I'm going to turn recording off.